Hi everyone, Joey here with Green Horizon Trade. Let's break down today's ORB Scanner setup and the rule of the day. Today was a really clean example of how structure separates winners from losers. VERO and JFBR were the clear winners because they confirmed, held key levels, and gave confirmation you could actually manage. And then we had LCFY, which is a textbook example of stocks that never reclaimed VWAP and slowly bled all day. That's exactly why today's rule of the day matters. Now let's talk market context first. Today rewarded traders who respected structure and stayed patient. There were opportunities, but they weren't everywhere throughout it. I know this week's been a great week for stocks. The stocks that worked showed their hand early and behaved cleanly after the open. And we'll review those today. The stocks that fell didn't collapse right away. They just never got above the key levels we look for. They were discipline matters more than entries. So rule of the day is don't fight a stock that can't reclaim its VWAP or its major resistance. The rule saves traders more money than almost anything else. A stock doesn't need to crash to be a bad trade. If the VWAP or the major resistance turns into resistance and stays there, the trend is already telling you that the stock is done. It's not going to recover. It's over. And we'll talk about that on the losing stock, how it could not break above its high. So let's start with VERO because this is what we want the ORB scanner to surface. So looking at this has had a nice, real good run in pre-market itself. And then you can see after about 7:30, it kind of more just consolidates here, right? It goes sideways. So you can see that here, but it stays above the VWAP itself. And so when it opens up this morning, it does have a nice, good, clean breakout. Goes up, but as our rule states, we don't want to buy it until the 9:45 rule. Because you can see if you would have bought it here, you would have got a pullback. Unless you bought it within one of these first minute candles. But this is risky, and you'll see why in the other one. You can see our volume's coming in, and then it dies out, and the volume comes back in. And you can see when it comes back in, it does break the ORB high. And it even confirms right here as well. Now, after that, it does kind of, we lose momentum in the stock as well again. So it does have a pullback. You can see right here the the shares that are actually dropping. But it does give you another opportunity later in the afternoon for you to actually get into the stock. So if you didn't get in on this first break, because our rule is if we don't want to get out until it breaks below this low or it breaks below a key level. And it doesn't do that. It just has a nice little pullback and comes back up. And then you can see it gives you another nice BRB right here. It never prints below the 9 EMA. It does the same thing right here. It gives you a nice little test up here. It does break below there, but here's another entry, and the volume's coming in. It's confirming it. So this is around 11 o'clock Eastern, and then it takes off. So, and you can see the volume stays consistent. Today's volume is 255 million, but it has a nice, good, clean upwards. And then how much is enough? That's what you need to determine for yourself, because if you get greedy, you're going to end up giving it back. And so for here, enough for me was once it broke below this. Okay, so that was 38%. At $2.85 per share is what I ended up taking off of a $7.50 share or stock, which was really good. So when stock behaves like VERO, your job isn't to be clever, it's to manage risk and protect your profits. You stay in while the stock holds, and when the stock breaks, you step aside. And that's what I did. I stepped aside. There was a little bit more of a run here, but I executed my strategy and walked away. And this keeps you consistent and prevents good trades from turning into an emotional one. So let's go ahead and talk about the next runner today that I have on here, which is JFBR. So this one right here, you can see when it opened, it was kind of like a little bit, it had a lot of support during the 9 EMA, but then once it broke above that support, you can see it just kind of took off. And so this one was, unless you're ready right at the 945, it was kind of hard to catch. Luckily, I was ready on this one, but but you can see when it opens up, it breaks above the VWAP. It's above the 9 EMA, which is really good signals. We had volume coming in, so these are all the things you want to look for. This is why I have stuff like estimated shares, current bar volume, because I don't like to get into a trade unless the current bar volume is on average around 100,000 shares being traded. And then I also like to see a high level of volume coming in as well. So you can see the average volume right now is 242,000 per bar. So like I said, this one was a nice little green catch. So you got in, a good 25 cents. If you get in as soon as you start seeing all this red, I mean, there's this nice little wick candle right here that stomped a lot of people out. But these are ones that you don't want to chase, and then eventually you can see, look, it's now dying. As I keep mentioning in all my videos, volume. Volume is key. Okay? This is now dying off. The volume's gone. Sellers stepped out. Buyers are gone. And so if you didn't trade this within the first part of the morning, it really wasn't a good trade, but it was a good trade for our main setups, which were profitable today. So if you tried JFBR with realistic expectations, managed risk, and you didn't overstay, it did exactly what we wanted it to do. So now let's talk about LCFY. So look at this. So this is the interesting one. So let's find the high. So here's its pre-market highs. Okay. So you can see within the pre-market itself, you had a lot of buyers that came in, and then it immediately sold. Come in, and then it just sold to give it all back. And then you had buyers that came in this morning. You can see the increase in volume come in, and then it starts kind of selling off again down towards the VWAP. But what you notice is even this high right here, in the pre-market, it could not hold or could not break above it. You have a nice little wick, but all of them just basically hits that high and gets slammed back down. So you can see it happen several times right here and just can't break it. So for me, you need a lot of momentum coming in, but by this point, all your buyers and sellers are gone. So you can see the volume just kind of peters out, and it breaks below within our 945 window. Basically, it just breaks below the VWAP, and it just sells off, and it just dies. And so it did fell a little bit slowly at first, and each bounce ended up being weaker and weaker and weaker until it couldn't hold those. And lower highs started forming, momentum faded, added volume dried out. This is what dead intraday trend looks like. So they say it might bounce. People were holding it. They're like, no, it might bounce. It might come back. It had a lot of move in pre-market. Losers hold losers. So those are why we don't want to be in these type of trades. This is exactly why today's rule really matters. Don't fight a stock that can't remain the VWAP or its high day or its resistance levels. You don't need a break down. You need honesty. When VWAP flips from support to resistance, the trade is over. LCFY wasn't a violent one. It was convincing to some people, and that's why you can see some movement, it pops up, but it still keeps breaking down. So the rule of the day, don't find a stock that can't reclaim VWAP. VERO and JFBR stayed on the right side of the VWAP, and they worked out. LCFY lost VWAP early and never got in back. And it bled out. This is how traders lose money quietly, not with big mistakes, but with small ones. They refuse to admit when the structure is gone, the trade is done. Protecting capital is part of profitability. So to recap today, VERO showed clean orb continuation. JFBR delivered a structured base hit. LCFY fell by losing VWAP and never could reclaim it. VWAP was the line between trend and a trap. Discipline mattered on these trades more than being aggressive. If you found this breakdown of today's movers and stocks helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe below. It really does help support the channel and the free content that I provide. If you want to see these setups live and be able to trade them yourself, I do have a link below to the ORB Scanner. There's also a trial as well for you to use. So keep in mind that on Monday, it's the holidays for the U.S. stock market, so there will be no trading on Monday. So I'll see you guys on Tuesday.